Okay, so there's a ton of stuff that goes into pulling off stuff on a Sunday morning, paid or not paid. I think that there's room for both sides to be heard, because I think there's pros in that if you pay a musician and you say, hey, here's kind of what we expect from you. Show up on time, know the music. We're not going to do a rehearsal midweek. Just show up on Sundays. A lot of times here in Nashville, at least, it's like you show up on a Sunday, just know the songs, and we'll go through them. And in fact, not just know the songs, but be able to be flexible to go anywhere the worship leader goes.
Whatever,
So it's like there's a lot of pressure at times with that. And so I think the pros of being paid is that there is an expectation of professionalism and all. But there's also that negative side of it where it could be we're paying people and now all of a sudden it becomes like a business transaction rather than like building the kingdom together in relationship.
And I think it's definitely a balance, because I've seen social ads go across Facebook and it just says, hip church looking for musicians. It's a paid opportunity, $100, something, whatever.
Yeah.
But it's like this just catchy ad to like make anybody just be like, oh yeah, I need money.
Yeah.
And to me, like, that's just not right. You're looking for random people there, and then you're not building really community. I mean, who said you can't once you kind of get them plugged in? But it's just also like, I didn't really like that. So I think there's a balance to how you do it. Yeah, and it's all relationships. The way I look at it is you're being really paid for time beforehand that you spent learning the materials, getting prepared, and being able to show up and lead worship without even thinking about the music even. The payment isn't for you worshiping God. It's for the time and for the sacrifice and commitment and the gear you put into it and all this stuff. You know, I think that's where a lot of people get confused. They're like, well, yeah, you should not be paid because that is not serving the Lord. That is getting paid for a job. And it's like, well, I see that. Like, I totally know what you're saying, but also I'm worshiping God regardless.
Yeah.
Even if it's free, like I'm worshiping God, I'm serving, like that's what I'm there to do. And it could be paid whatever amount. But
pizza.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, and I'll do that.
So what would you say for churches that might not be in Nashville? Because here you could throw a rock and hit 10 guitarists before the rock hits the ground. Yeah, seriously, you can hit 2 right here.
Oh, my leg. Okay.
For people that are not in Nashville and have like easy access to world-class musicians in their congregation, because even the church we go to, I mean, you look around and you're just like, I know all these guitar players. Like, these guys are incredible.
My heroes.
Yeah. And so what would you say to a church that might not readily have available those kind of people but want to bring in great music? Is it appropriate to pay a person that might not even go to the church to try to like build a worship program?
Right.
I think that's another side of the payment, not just people in your church. It's bringing people in.
That's tough. Honestly, like, I think that would be okay as long as you kind of go through and like vet them out, you know, and just like start building a relationship, because who's to say they wouldn't become a part of your church? I guess the way that a church would go about doing that is probably what would be most important. It's like, yeah, let's not be like that one church with the Facebook ads being like, let's $100, come on, y'all have some fun. You know, let's just reach out and have, bring other people that you know are good people and who want to be involved, not just someone who's going to be, I'll come do that, and then they're not there again.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that would be okay. I mean, that's a good question, because I've never really thought about that. But I think if you're in a church where you don't have musicians readily available, who's to say that wouldn't be okay to try that, you know, and really just try to find someone who's wanting to be a part of their ministry, you know.
Bringing people in that are paid that don't go to your church, and the person that they are is something that you want to infuse into your worship ministry. I think it would make sense to be like, I know a drummer, great dude. Yeah. He's a worshiper. He sings when he plays drums. Right. Like, we really need a drummer like that to infuse into the ministry. I think that's an appropriate thing, even if it's just the drummer that's getting paid, where you're like, doesn't go to our church yet, but no, he loves the Lord and he's everything we want to be in our culture. I think that's an appropriate thing.
For sure.
I've seen some churches, like back in high school, there was a church that would pay musicians to come, and they weren't even Christian. They were just people who gigged around town, and they wanted their music to be really good. Right. And they'd be like, oh, I saw that guy, you know, play at the boardwalk, and let's have him come and play. And I think that's a little trickier, because it's like, at that point, you might as well just play a multi-track of that guy and not have to worry about hangover or whatever.
If he shows up.
Yeah, exactly.
2 hours late.
Beyond a theological perspective, just a pragmatic stance. Yeah. He might not show up. It's kind of a gamble. So yeah, some of that I feel like is almost a no-brainer, but I kind of wanted to bring it up just because it's with unpaid and paid musicians. That's another aspect where your church might not even have musicians within it. But who knows? Who's to say? There's different opinions and different thoughts, and I'd love to hear from whoever's listening to this as well, of like, what's your experience with it? Have you been a part of a church that pays, or maybe you're opposed to it, or maybe you're super for it, whatever it is. Love to hear your experiences with it. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with more topics, hopefully. We're just kind of testing it out. So
oh, yeah.
We'll see. Thanks for listening.